What's up everybody, welcome back to Nintendo Land, and we are diving back into Wave 2 to talk about all the secret shortcuts to help you improve your race time. Now, we will be going over eventually the best paths and the overall best way to race the fastest on each track, but right now, we're just talking about shortcuts. So if you have that extra mushroom in your pocket, or a gold mushroom, feel free to use it on these shortcuts we show off today. If you guys manage to find more that I missed, make sure you comment them down below, and I'll be sure to show them off later on. Now, let's get into the video and showing off all the shortcuts in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Wave 2 of the Booster Pass. The first shortcut you'll come up on is a small little section in the park area. All you have to do is use a mushroom over the boost, but it's easy to miss. Make sure you're looking right when coming out of that first tunnel. Taking this shortcut also forces you to take the right path, which is, I think, a tad bit faster than taking the ramp on the left. Also, when you're coming down that same path for lap 2, make sure you try to take that right street because it technically is a shortcut. Now, there's also shortcuts that you can take in the grass in the park without going out of bounds. For instance, you can go between this tree and this light post, but it is going to be very tricky. You have to time it down pretty good. Mario Circuit 3 is one of those tracks that's about using mushrooms in the spots that's going to benefit you based on your positioning and where you're at. You can use them pretty much on any part you see sand. You can just blast through the sand with the mushrooms, so pointing all these out would be pointless. But let me point out a couple that's just kind of the obvious good shortcut to take. This is a section where you'll have to do almost a complete U-turn, and you can easily take a mushroom to just blast right through that U-turn, right through the dirt, and straight into the path again. You'll also find another kind of U-turn right after it where you can use a mushroom again, or multiple mushrooms to keep on going throughout the dirt. Then you have the obvious ones, just like Donut Plains. You have to go straight through the colored blocks, but you definitely need a mushroom to get through the sand. And honestly, you might need two because it's a very long shortcut path. So if you have a mushroom in your inventory, always utilize the sand. The sand is your friend here. Use it as your boost path in order to skip parts of the track, and you will be a-okay. Calamari Desert has a shortcut right at the very beginning that actually ties into a second shortcut. Obviously, you probably don't have any mushrooms here unless you're doing time trials, but on your way back around, remember that the shortcut is at the very front and to the left. Going up this boost pad will fly you all the way across the track to a second boost pad, which technically you may not need a mushroom to get there, but one will definitely help and pick up your speed for sure. Once again, the sand is your friend here. Utilize the mushrooms to skip most of the track if you can, because that will definitely help you to jump into the lead. There's also a small ramp at the end towards the finish line, which definitely can help you get that last boost you needed. Pay attention coming out of the tunnel portion. There is a spot where you can actually go left back onto the regular track instead of taking the train tracks to the right. This can help you avoid an incoming train, and it might actually be a tad bit faster. Once again, I'm going to have to run the times to see if that's the case. Unfortunately, Waluigi Pinball doesn't really have any shortcuts, and it never did. Now, there may be faster paths to take, for instance, whether to take the boost pads or just an inner drift, but once again, we'll figure all that out in the next video. Right now, there's just no shortcuts that I could find myself. Sydney Sprint has a couple really good shortcuts, and most of them contain grass. So right off the beginning, you can see a water fountain that you can take a shortcut with, but obviously you probably don't have an item by then. But you'll come back around this same fountain twice on the next 2 laps, so remember to keep a mushroom for that point for a last second victory at the end of the race. Towards the park area by the water, you'll come into a section with multiple drift lanes. Instead of hitting the lanes, use a mushroom to go by the park bench and through the rocks within the park's grass in order to get a really good boost. Definitely use any mushrooms you have to blast through these stone areas because it can definitely save you some time. There's also some grassy portions at the end of the final lap that you can definitely take to get some last minute speed boosts, so definitely look out for those. Snowland, believe it or not, from the GBA probably has some of the most craziest, best shortcuts that you could take, and there's just so many options depending on the player. Right in the beginning of the track, you will see a portion that has a snowman and some crystals sticking out of the snow. You can actually blast right through these in order to skip lots of the track. You can even blast right through the snowman because he's no problem for you and your mushrooms. Now, this is one of the few shortcuts that actually takes a lot of skill to make sure you hit correctly, because if you don't, you're gonna fall down in that gap every single time. Once you go down this path, you want to start drifting here and aim for the snowman on the end. You want to hit him, but also slide off of the little bump in the snow. If you don't hit that bump, you will fall straight down. Remember, you want to be in mid-drift when you use the mushroom, and aim for the snowman as he's placed right in front of the bump. That will help you out a lot. Next, you'll notice the ice around the pond. It's kind of flared upward in certain spots, which allows you to do a trick. Lots of these pieces of ice are not high enough of ramps to get you over the pond, but we can find a specific piece that works. As you're going around the lake, you'll see one piece towards the end of your drift, and you can have a little bit of boost with your mushroom in order to skip a piece of the lake. Not all of it, but enough to give you a little bit of boost past people that could be near you. Towards the end, there's two more shortcuts. One that takes you through some colored bricks, once again like Donut Plains and Mario Circuit 3. I guess all these classic tracks has to have a basic shortcut like that. And there's a little snow ramp at the end that you can take in order to jump over the bridge into the finish line. Making sure you remember the snowman shortcut, bumping off of that bump and then going over the lake could be very crucial and actually enough speed to get you past any of your opponent racers. Now at first glance, Mushroom Gorge is just Mushroom Gorge. There's not really any cool secrets that you can do, and you're just going too slow to even try to hit that gap at the end, even with the mushroom in hand. But what if I told you there actually is a way to make that gap, but this time in 200cc? Zooming out of the cave, it is possible to hit a correct turn in order to jump over the gap completely with a mushroom, but you'll get stuck here if you don't hit it correctly. Thanks to World Love Gaming on YouTube, they found a correct way to actually position themselves in a perfect way to barely make it and slow down just in time to get through the finish line. What you want to do is position yourself on that final mushroom enough by drifting off of the last one and trying to line up with that rock on the end of the gap. As you can tell, it was very hard for me to hit that turn correctly. The angle and position that you have to be at is barely past that fence. Like, you literally have to almost scrape the fence with the front of your cart and barely still make it. You also have to add a little short hop right as you go over the gap, so this is a very difficult trick to execute. So if you want to do this, make sure you definitely practice and wait for the very last lap, and definitely don't do what I did. And finally, we have Sky High Sundae, which unfortunately doesn't really have any shortcuts. Now, one thing to remember is that the railing is obviously just little speed boosts, because you can see Mario spinning around and you'll just go right through them, which is a very weird concept. Also found some random pieces of the track that did give me a little bit of a speed boost, but on this track you're in zero gravity, so a lot of the time you're just floating, so maybe try to find whatever path works for you. You have tons of time to move and stuff, but yeah, it's just one big loop with not really any shortcuts. I try to figure out what the bottom paths were for, such as the popsicles, but it seems like maybe they're just there in case someone falls, and so they place you there. I don't know, but one of them actually has coins on them, which is just weird. I don't understand it, but yeah, it's there. Those are all the shortcuts and secret paths for Wave 2 of the Booster Pass. If you guys have found any more, definitely let me know. And now it's time to find what are the fastest paths and the best choices that you can make in order to have the fastest time. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, and make sure you leave a like and subscribe to stay up to date on more things Mario Kart and Nintendo in general. And like always, I'll see you all in the next one. See ya, guys.